where no, I'm here to be clear.
It is morally emaciated. I can't ride with you.
I'm doing something I'm really good at.
Cash, I'm gonna make you a proposal. I can see that you want to say no, but I wouldn't do that before you see what I'm offering you. Cash, you are awesome.
Oh yeah. All right.
Some for the homies and some for me.
Hell yeah. That's right.
Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is my review of Sorry to Bother You. This is an indie film which just came out recently. It's gotten a lot of praise from critics. It's got like 96% Rotten Tomatoes, and it made a buttload at the box office for an indie film which was in a very small amount of theaters its first opening weekend. So I'm like, this must be a good movie. Let's check it out. And so does Sorry to Bother You end up bothering me a whole lot by the end of it, or is it a film that I can kind of just give a pass to? Let's find out. Cassius Stanfield, he is the star of this film. I might have been butchering that name, I apologize if I did, but he is the star of this movie, plays this guy named Cassius Green, and he is a guy who's very much down on his luck. He is looking for a job. He is 4 months behind on his rent somehow, and he's basically going to have to find a new place to live within 2 weeks if he doesn't find anything that's going to pay well enough. And so he ends up finding this job in telemarketing at this random company, and he just finds out that he has this really good knack for. He figures out this white person voice, which is the first really kind of weird thing about the movie. I couldn't tell if it was actually him doing the voice or if it was somebody actually dubbing over his lips and stuff. But either way, it was just kind of a weird situation because it happens with different characters throughout the movie, and I just honestly couldn't tell if it was somebody else basically dubbing that voice, basically like someone else speaking over their image, or if it was actually them producing it. Regardless, he ends up making his name in the company. He ends up doing very well, making a lot of sales, and ends up becoming a top salesman person, and ends up going into this really high up level of the company where he's just selling really high profit sales and making them a lot of money, and just finds himself involved in this world which he didn't really expect to get very much into. Finds himself conflicted between his girlfriend and the job that he's doing. He ends up basically ignoring the moral ethics of what he's doing because he ends up working for a company which is very, very shady and doesn't really do some good things. And more or less that is our film. His girlfriend is played by Tessa Thompson. She also does a very good job. Steven Yeun is from Walking Dead. He's also in the movie. He wasn't someone I expected in the movie. It's been a very long time since I've seen a trailer for this thing, so if he was in that, I don't remember. But he was a fun addition to see. He's this person who ends up kind of leading the strike against the company in order to establish a union and get them higher wages. And then Armie Hammer is the CEO of this company, which is basically this company which you sign this contract basically giving your life to the company. You work 14-hour days and you get like free housing and meals and everything. So it's like you live within the company and your basically life is serving this company. But I thought that Armie Hammer also did a very good job in this movie. I really liked seeing his interactions with Stanfield eventually, and it just made for a really interesting role for him to play as opposed to other things which I've seen him in. There's also some racial issues which are embedded into the film, which is more or less expected with kind of indie films these days. There's kind of the issue, like I said earlier, with him having to use a white person voice in order to do better in sales and sell better to people, because in theory, like, people are more comfortable hearing a white person talk in kind of a typical voice like that instead of hearing an African American person talk over the phone. It's kind of a weird thing, but they do kind of bring it up throughout the course of the movie. It's kind of, like I said, weird. They also just kind of play on black stereotypes as well. There's a scene where Cassius is at a party, and the person who's running the party wants him to do a rap just because he assumes because he's black he can rap. And it's just a very cringy moment because it just evolves into this really weird thing by the end of that sequence. I did think that there were some really good jokes in this film. I laughed a few times here or there. They're very subtle jokes, but they work really well because they're kind of unexpected, and they work quite nicely throughout the movie, I thought. But in general, the plot is very kind of predictable. You kind of know more or less where it's going to go up until about the last 15-20 minutes. Then it just gets really fucking weird. There's a thing which is revealed within those last 15-20 minutes, which just makes the movie to do a whole 180 and just goes in a direction which I didn't expect it to do, and it didn't really work for me. I'm sure there's a metaphor in there for like slavery and slave labor and trying to build it up as best as possible and everything like that, and what people will do and masters will do in order to create the most profits and things of that sort. But it's just done in such a weird fashion that it just kind of took me out of the movie, which I wasn't necessarily very invested in to begin with, because like I said, the plot is fairly predictable. It was enjoyable enough, but it was very predictable. Initially, when I filmed this review, I didn't really think the ending made that much sense to me. I didn't really understand the metaphor that I was going for, and I just didn't really like it that much. But as I was editing this video, literally, I came across this spot where I wish I had said something different or added something, and as that thought appeared, the gears started kind of going in my brain, and the ending just started to make a lot more sense the more I thought about it, and even the title of the movie began to make sense to me. So I don't usually do this, but I will say that the ending of this movie, it is still fucking weird, like I said, but after you see it, if you take the time to kind of think about it along with the other themes which are prevalent throughout this movie, you will more or less understand it and kind of get the symbolism that the director is going for. It's the first time director as far as I'm aware too. And just this metaphor that he's going for is very relevant with the current climate in the country. And it makes a lot of sense just the more that you think about it, just how the movie ends up ending and the consequences of everything that goes down. It just makes for a very interesting and intriguing ending by the end of it, and it's something which I kind of wish I had caught on to sooner. It just caught me so off guard by just what it decided to do with the ending that I just didn't really think of it as much more than just a really strange choice. But overall, I thought that Sorry to Bother You is actually a really, really brilliant movie. It does have its weird moments, and I thought that, again, the majority of the plot is kind of predictable as to where it's going to go, but the last 15-20 minutes really kind of makes up for that. And while, again, it's really weird, but once you walk out of the movie and you begin to kind of think about it and think of what it was trying to say and portray and everything, you will kind of gain a bigger appreciation for it, even if it takes about 2 hours after walking out of the theater to do so. But guys, overall, those are my thoughts on Sorry to Bother You. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like the film as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as another reminder, I am now doing written reviews on video games. That link is in the description down below. Check that out if you're interested. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.